One of my landlord friends, what's the best way to deal with cockroaches, and because the regular stuff you get at like Home Depot has not been working. So I got some industrial grade stuff. Had to special order it. So we'll see. I've never done it before, but we'll see how it works. This is my daily driver, my truck. It's sometimes a camper if I got a little thing there. If it's not full of cement, I'll sleep in here sometimes. This thing is so shitty. It has like 240,000 miles. I'm running this thing into the ground. I'm not gonna get a nice truck. I don't even care if I can afford it. I like this one. I'm keeping it. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you. Okay, so if you're wondering how I even got to this position, being 28, traveled the entire world, real estate investor, van builder, all kinds of really interesting things, is I'm originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I come from like just a really amazing family, very wholesome, like awesome mom and dad, really encouraging. I have never really been like school person. I really didn't enjoy it. I didn't like being locked in a classroom. I've always liked to like be creative, work with my hands. As a kid, I always wanted to grow up and be an artist. But then I was like, oh, artists don't make money though, and I don't want to be broke. So then I kind of was like, no, I won't be an artist. Maybe I'll be an architect. Then I was like, no, not that. And I ended up choosing graphic design. So I just started doing that. And then I was working remotely, taking clients from all over in Minnesota. There was one really cold night, cold day in January in Minnesota. If you've been, you know, it's brutal up there. Like that's in Minnesota, I learned that negative 40 degrees is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. It's so cold. So anyway, it was a cold night and I was like, oh, I don't want to be here. Why am I living in Minnesota? Like none of my clients like know where I am or even care where I am. So then I started Googling. This was kind of before digital nomad was really a thing. This is like, what was this? Probably 8 years ago now. I started Googling like working remotely. Like I didn't even know what I was looking for. I ended up finding this company called Wi-Fi Tribe. And it's basically entrepreneurs from all over the world that are like live together for a month in a different country and they like live and work together. So you're around people of your same wavelength, same like you're thinking differently about life. You're thinking you don't have to live this life, you know, the classic 9 to 5 and you go in the office and blah blah blah. You're you're working poolside in Nicaragua in January. So I went down there for a month and kind of tried it out and I was like, hell yeah, I love this. And then that kicked off the next few years of my life and I was traveling and I was in a new country every month. So every month it was like going from, you know, Nicaragua to Madagascar to Oman to India to Indonesia. Like I traveled all over. It was like it was the best thing I could have done for myself because it pushed myself outside my boundaries all day, every day. You're immersing yourself in brand new cultures, people, languages, ways of life, everything. You're learning you're learning about the abundance of everything we have in this country. And it gave me a way different perspective. So anyway, I did that all the way up until COVID. I was traveling a new country every month. So for years and years, COVID hit and I was like, well, I was seeing a guy that at the time that lived here in Tampa Bay. And I kind of was like, let me go to Tampa temporarily until COVID blows over. And then it kind of like, we all know, it kind of prolonged and longed. And I ended up falling in love with Tampa Bay and St. Pete. And I still was in like the very nomadic mindset. And I really didn't want to sign a lease. I didn't want to sign a year-long lease because I always in the back of my head was like, I don't want to go travel again. So instead, it made more sense to my brain to sign a 30-year mortgage instead of a 1-year lease because I knew I was going to be doing this thing called house hacking, which my boyfriend at the time had taught me about. I learned so much from him. And he basically taught me that you can buy a house, like a 3-bedroom house, and you rent the extra bedrooms to people you just meet on Facebook or like anywhere, and then you end up living for free. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's what I want because I wanted to have the freedom to be able to travel when I want, but have a home to come back to if I need to. But then I got another house, and now here we are. I got real estate investor here in Tampa Bay, and I have my unique Airbnbs, my camper vans. I forgot to, okay, then I skipped the part where I lived in a van. I lived in a van before I bought my first house, and I went to every single state in the entire country. So I was in literally one summer I did the entire east half of the country, and one summer I did the entire west half of the country. And I saw literally all the lower 48 states, and it was awesome. Um, and in between that, I was doing like the world travels, and then ended up settling here. What I did was when I bought my first house, I sold that camper van because I was like, I don't need it anymore. I wasn't even really trying to make a business. And I was sitting there and I was like, well, I've got this little backyard in this home. Um, Let me see if I can build another van. So I bought another van um, with the intention of flipping it for profit. And that one, I made a little bit more profit. And I was like, well, let me do it again. And now next one, I made a little bit more profit. And I kept doing it. Um, I ended up growing this little van flipping company into this huge thing called Florida Van Life. And I've been interviewed by Wall Street Journal. I've been featured by Business Insider and CBS, and it kind of grew up and grew into this whole massive thing. And along the way, I made a lot of mistakes. That's just part of business, and I lost so much money, and I picked a business partner that was not aligned with my values and integrity in business, and I ended up having to separate from them. It was just a whole thing. So many lessons to be learned. But now I'm back doing kind of custom van life builds and the unique Airbnbs and real estate. And my life is so different. And like every single day looks completely new challenges, new projects. And I'm always learning. I'm working with really interesting people. I am learning a lot about growing businesses, scaling, hiring, firing, working with people that are more aligned with you, and there's so many lessons. And I think it will never stop. Speaking of, I actually just pulled up to my favorite restaurant when I'm in the middle of my like real estate, like when I'm just popping around town doing all my different projects. I always go to Chick-fil-A. So I am about to order. Okay, so I always get the same thing. Would you like, you want your fries? Anything else? It's so easy. This is why I go to Chick-fil-A. I would say probably every other day because it's just all right here. They can take all my money. I know, it's been a minute. Yeah, it's good to see you again.
I haven't seen you since the last story.
Since the relocation.
Yeah.
This is fresh. You guys, it's a nice new thing. Yeah.
What's it called? It's so much bigger
Yeah.
inside, except for the dining area. It's so small.
Really?
The kitchen is like 3 times as big though.
Speak over.